All right, we're live. We're officially live. Eat, Pray, Limbs, the Barstool EPL gambling show. You're a little Friday afternoon treat. Trying to get people through the end of the week, get them slingshot into tomorrow morning with some winners. We got Dan, Nottingham Dan, coming from his closet. We got Sam coming from his closet. I'm here in the Barstool Chicago office. Dan, how you doing? We'll start with you.
I don't think I've been more confident for a game that factually we have such little chances winning. So I'm slightly disturbed by my own optimism this week, but that's a good thing, I think.
All right, you and I are on the opposite page because I was going through. We'll get into the Forest not Spurs game in a little bit, but I'm starting to tremble a little bit. And Sam, how we doing? How's your closet?
Not bad. I'm calling this my studio, by the way. But yeah, it is
Studio, my
basically
bad.
a closet. Yep. Dude, I'm feeling good. I think this episode's gonna get a little spicy eventually here. Before we get into that, I just want to point out. So this is the last weekend of basically European soccer. Sort of we have it to ourselves, which is good and bad. I mean, obviously we like the attention, but next weekend is basically like the bonanza, the greatest thing since sliced bread for American sports fans, because we can wake up at 6:30 in the morning here in Chicago and watch sports, top quality sports from then until midnight. And it's the best thing in the world. And I'm already excited for that. I know we got a whole weekend to go, but just keep that in mind in the back of your head that we got things coming. Get excited.
It's coffee season. It's coffee season. Doesn't matter what time of day it is. You got to have the coffee pot boiling, brewing, ready to go. 6:30 a.m. or p.m. You need it to get through the end of the day. That's college football. That's America right there. And that's England. That's what we have going for us. I'm excited for it. We're getting to the point where it's like, I'm just an idiot. I don't trust my own brain. That Manchester United game versus Liverpool at home would seem like everything in the world going against Manchester United. And I think I said specifically, there's no way. They're not a circle the wagons kind of a team. Circled them, and then kicked Liverpool right in the teeth. So it's like, well, sometimes if it's too good to be true and too obvious, then it is, and that's gambling. And I took a bath because I had Liverpool like 6 different ways on Monday, and I felt great about it. I was starting to be like, well, yeah, let's make plans for a vacation. Let's go out to a big fancy dinner because we have this one in the bank. Wrong, absolutely wrong. What, Mike, Sam, what did you make of what happened in that game?
Well, Ten Hag basically had the balls to put Maguire on the bench and put Ronaldo on the bench, and it worked out for him. The boys played quite well. Also, I think while United played really well, and you do have to give them credit for that, Liverpool were terrible for a lot of the game. Not the entire team, but the midfield is just an abomination at the moment. They need to go buy somebody quick. I know that's not really their MO, but they need to bolster that midfield quickly. I will say, while you did have Liverpool every which way, I think is what you said going into it, I was just as convinced that game was going to go over, and not just over by a little bit, which it actually ended up doing. I got greedy and said it was going to go over 3.5. The fact that game did not go over 3.5 goals it's something I'm going to tell my children's children about, because it is just absolutely ridiculous, and I'm still hurting from it. But it is what it is. And congrats to United. They needed that win badly, very badly.
They needed it bad. And then, Dan, everything feels upside down in the EPL still. I feel like we don't have a good read on anybody week to week. How long is it going to take before things kind of normalize here? Because I don't know if I have the bankroll to get through the end of September.
So I think I went the opposite way. So I thought it was going to stay upside down last weekend, and I took the Newcastle win at Man City, if you recall, thinking that was going to be the upside down. And I was had some family in town, and I was sitting with my nephews going round on a chaeroplane in the air, as one of my older nephews from the side, every time I went round, was going, it's now 3-2. And I was just sat there going round in a circle of misery in the air somewhere over the Jersey Shore as Man City banged a couple in. But I don't think it ever really settles down, because you look at them every week at the moment, and I think you've got to get to a point almost like the American sports where the teams begin to know what they are. And at the moment, everyone is in denial at this point. So the teams at the bottom still think that they can make something of the season. Teams like Liverpool probably still believe that they can do something deep down. And until they start to realize that this isn't just, like a micro trend, this is how the season's going to be, I think everyone's going to be pushing for the points, and we saw that last weekend. And not to get ahead of ourselves, but I think this weekend there's some games that just they look really spicy.
Yeah, but it's I have so much self-doubt now. Like you look at the table and it's like, wow, I don't think Wolves are any good, but they can't be as bad as they've shown. Leicester, I think, they haven't signed anybody. They seem like another team that is reportedly, allegedly on the brink of financial disaster. So there's no reinforcements coming, apparently. So it's just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I've been staring at the board all goddamn day, trying to find at least 3 winners. I've found a few that I feel comfortable with. I'm sure you guys will pick them apart. But I know, like in hockey, they say it's Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is when if you're a playoff team or not. And there's also a stat that if you're in a playoff position on Thanksgiving, then you make the playoffs 80% of the time. That's the kind of date that I'm looking for out of you guys. Like, when can I start to trust it's almost like you're trying to trust the brands more than the actual makeup of a team on a given Sunday and how they match up. Because it's like, you don't know what Spurs, look, they've been successful, but they don't think they've looked like world beaters, especially going forward. West Ham, not yet. But Chelsea, don't know what to make of them. Is Newcastle awesome? Are they a top 6 threat, or is this or are they the team we saw the week before? They went 0-0 away. So that's what it's like. I need some kind of a date where things will normalize, where I can start to see the board a little bit more clearly. Right now, it's like the old Sam Darnold with the Jets. I'm seeing ghosts. I don't know what's going on. So I hope that we can kind of maybe this week plant a flag. We're going to come up with a bet a parlay that we all agree on, and make that our bet for the show going forward. And we might as well just get into that now. Sam, we'll start with you. Give me what are you seeing with the board so far?
Oh boy. I could go through. I could give you some games that I'm like,
what are you playing about? What's on your card?
So at the top of my list, I'll give you the top of the list is the game that I wouldn't touch with your dick, and that is Villa West Ham. I am not getting anywhere near that game. I don't know what's going on with either one of those teams, and I want nothing to do with them. Also, they stink, and I don't really want to get close to them. I don't know if that's going to rub off on me. Anyway, the games I do like though are Arsenal, Fulham, big London derby. Number 1, Arsenal. It pains me to say this, but they are good. I will give them that.
Good.
They are a good team. They're not a title contending team, but they're a very good team. I love this game to have goals. So I think Fulham will score on Arsenal. So if you want to go both teams to score, that makes sense. I am going with the over, and I'm in between, and maybe you guys can talk me into one or the other. Over 3.5 is plus 130. Over 4.5 is plus 300. I can see either one of those happening, but if we're gonna get into this later with our strongest bets and the parlay bet, maybe the over 3.5 is where I'd maybe just be a little conservative since I got greedy.
It's plus
Liverpool
money.
United.
It's plus money at plus 130 for 3.5.
Exactly.
Where are those goals coming from? How many are you going to count for Fulham?
Nobody is stopping Gabby Jesus these days.
Yep.
So I would give him 2, Martinelli 1, Mitrovic 1 right there. I can't do math very well, but that's 4, I think.
But so you like Fulham on the board then too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Dan, what's your take on that one?
Yeah, so it's funny you say the Villa West Ham game. That was the one that I wasn't going anywhere near. It's basically a battle of who's the worst. I've got Arsenal Fulham down as to be a high-scoring, entertaining game. I hadn't got it on my board necessarily, just because I got some others. But that lines up with your thinking, which is both teams are scoring goals. Arsenal aren't giving up too many, but Fulham are doing a job on most people as well in terms of getting them in the back of the net. So I think 3.5 is a reasonable bet. Let's see what else comes up, but I wouldn't be averse to the 4.5 either.
Yeah. On the same page there.
In terms of what I've got at the top of my board, I've got Brentford to beat Everton. Brentford to do one on Everton, and the over on 2.5 along with that as well. So that was we can play a bit of that depending on where we get to on the parlay, but basically Brentford over Everton and over 2.5 goals in the game, and that's plus 225.
Okay, so I'm with you on that one. I love that one. I love Brentford at home. Everton still hasn't figured out how to put goals in unless they just bomb one from their goalie over the top and land it right at his feet to walk in and tie it against Forest late in the game. They don't have much going forward. So I think, I saw a stat that Forest conceded, I think it was 21 shots against Everton. Nothing of any real danger in that entire game. So they might, Forest not going to have the ball a lot. They're going to give up some chances, but a lot of it's going to be, or the vast majority of it's going to be from outside the box, especially against some of these weaker teams offensively like Everton. I don't know if Everton has one in them though against Brentford on the road. So
let me add one thing
here.
Okay. Let me add one thing. So I hear where you guys are coming from, and I actually tend to agree because Everton has been woeful going forward. They don't have Richarlison. Calvert-Lewin is out. So, Demarai Gray and Rodon are basically their options. So the thing I was thinking on this game is that Everton, and specifically Lampard, has been just lambasted recently for playing too conservative. But we're coming up in this home game, a game that the pressure's on against a Brentford team whose defense is, let's say, rather leaky. I think that if there's a game that they try and open it up a little bit, it's probably this one. And so I actually had as my second sort of favorite was both teams to score in Brentford and Everton, which is minus 125.
That's minus 125, both to score. Okay, so what I had for that one was Brentford money line. I do like them to win at home. I think they're just a better team at this point than Everton because of they do score goals. Like they do score goals, they do get forward, they do create chances, and they cash. And I like Brentford to score over 1.5. So I was thinking like a 2-1, 2-0 game. And if you parlay those together, it's plus 155.
So we're pretty much splitting the difference on how many Brentford are going to score at this point, I think. But I get the idea that Everton have to go for it. I just don't think they've got the ammunition to do it at this point. So I think they just leave themselves wide open. And if anything, if they go down that route, both teams probably will score. But again, it's one of those where we're going with the form, and we'll probably be regretting that at some point. But I think Brentford to score a couple at least. So it seems like that's on the board.
All right. So I feel like we have, for our trilateral bet, the England special relation, I don't know what we're calling it yet, but I feel like we'll put Brentford as one of the legs of the tripod there of that parlay. We good on that?
I'm just adding, it's just a slight thing. I'm slightly nervous about it. I'm just going to put that out there. Slightly nervous. Well,
you've got bigger games. You've got bigger games to be nervous about this weekend. So don't you worry.
Well, let's go to a different game that I kind of have circled because I said I think Leicester is in trouble. Now they're going to Chelsea. Obviously, there's a lot of juice on that one. Chelsea is going to be a big favorite. Anything you're pulling from that game? Because I feel like Chelsea has to start accumulating points quickly here. They're sitting 12th. I think they have 4 points. They're technically behind Forest right now, so I love that. But how do you guys feel? Dan, we'll start with you on that one. Do you like anything out of that game?
Yeah, so I'd looked at this, and I'd also looked at the Manchester United game against Southampton. So Chelsea are at home to Leicester. I think that's a banker, but looking for value in that on the money line, it was pretty difficult. So the only thing I'd done there was look at parlaying Chelsea to beat Leicester and Manchester United to get a result away at Southampton. I think Leicester and Southampton have both been pretty woeful. Manchester United, I think, will carry on the form now. They've got into a position with their tactics and personnel. So yeah, Man U and Chelsea to win. I'm pretty comfortable with that, but I'll look to you two as to whether there's any value within that Chelsea game beyond the money line.
So I have Chelsea. This is like another little parlay that I'm going to put together. Like I did this for hockey all the time too. Just don't think, just throw big favorites at home and parlay them together to get the money looking a little bit more tasty. And if you do Arsenal at home and Chelsea at home, both money line, you get that down to 121. Does that tickle your balls enough for you there, Sam, or we have to add?
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
If you add Spurs to it, it's plus 168.
You want to go there?
I'm just saying, if you wanted to go there, the table is set for you.
I don't mind it. I was actually sort of leaving the Chelsea game alone just because, they're coming off of a rather painful defeat. The one thing I wanted to point out about that game is that Tuchel's terroristic activities seem to be metastasizing. So before it was just anti-America, anti-Pulisic, but now he sort of, if you look through their transfer activity and look at it closely, they've basically gone and upset the apple cart ahead of every team that they're about to play. So when Everton, they're about to play, all of a sudden they were going after the kid in the midfield. Now they're about to play Leicester. They're thinking about buying Wesley Fofana for 70 million quid. They're basically, I don't know if I believe the actual transfer rumors so much as I believe that Tuchel and his terroristic cabal there are just trying to stir things up, and it's worked against Everton, and I think it's probably going to work against Leicester. So yeah, I guess I am on board based on that.
Okay, I think I like.
It.
Okay, so we like that one, and then should we just get into the Forest game?
If you guys are ready,
we'll start with the bad news. So Sam, we'll go with you.
I just think that we're going to dog walk you guys. I know.
How bad? How bad?
Like 2-goal win minimum. I was thinking 3, but I figured, you guys are nice and maybe I'd throw you a little bone there and not sort of dance on your grave. I think that this is going to be a shellacking, a mollywhopping, perhaps. I would say 4-1, just off the top of my head.
All right. So for a team that hasn't been clicking offensively, why at City Ground is this the place for them to get right? Because it feels like it's not. The miss is
it hasn't been.
You're right. Off the train. Yeah,
you're right. Like the offense so far has been not great. We won against Wolves, obviously a little disappointing. Some of the goals against Southampton, we didn't even score. They scored them for us. So yes, I agree. Our offense has not been what it is going to be. It's only a matter of time though. And you guys have been giving up, I think you said, shots left and right.
61 shots allowed through 3 games.
If you're going to give those up to a Son and a Kane led team, I think you might be in for a little bit of hurt. And I know, listen, I'm on board with the City Ground being a bit of a fortress there, but I think that you have you've not experienced the financial wherewithal that Big Six teams tend to come with. And I know I'm saying that sort of
they roll in with
tongue in
fucking
cheek
tanks and shoot fucking gold bars out of your head until you die.
I'm saying that tongue in cheek because you guys have spent as much as anybody in the league this year, and so I'm actually
but that's to get to like neutral. I think I saw like a graph where it's like the value of the team and then a percentage of what signings it was like. Well, Forest is like 85% of their team came in this summer in terms of dollars spent. Where everyone else, they already had like 20, they only had to spend 25% to get up to that extreme, high number that you guys like just sit at as you print money. Dan, walk us through a path where we're not embarrassed.
So I think there's a couple of things going against us. One of those is our injuries that we picked up in the last few weeks near Carter and a couple of others.
Did you not hear what I just said?
But
we've got injuries too, if you want to go that way.
Yeah. But that all said, I just trust that Cooper knows his stuff and he will. We've played against teams and we've given up shots, but we've given up shots against teams that just aren't very good. West Ham aren't very good. Everton aren't very good. I think we know how to play against teams with firepower. We played against Arsenal and Liverpool last year and Leicester. They didn't put out their first team, so I'm not in any way saying that an FA Cup game is the same as a Premier League game. But Cooper knew how to nullify things, and I think we will tactically set ourselves up to not get absolutely hammered in this. I can't believe we will be naive enough to go out there and try and play our normal game and just leave 30 yards open at the back for Son to run into, Kane to get into the middle against Worrell, etc., etc. So I think tactically Cooper will be spot on for this. I think we'll see a few differences in how we go about doing it, not necessarily our formation. And I honestly think if things go well in the first 15 to 20 minutes, it might go the same way as the West Ham game. And I think we make our own luck at home. And genuinely, I think we'll get something out of this. So from a betting point of view, I'm not getting too over the top on this. I'm going with both teams to score and over 3.5 cards, because there will definitely be cards in this. if we're going to keep the score down, and that's plus 195. So both teams to score, Forest to get one, and over 3.5 cards. And I will happily take a point from this game, and I actually think we'll get one.
Wow. All right. Who plays up front? Because that's like become a question now too, with Morgan Gibbs White fully in the fold. Are they going to have Johnson as kind of like the lone striker, front three? Do you think it's Taiwo, or do you think it's MPW?
I think we probably have to trust with Taiwo to begin with, purely because we'll need an outlet. And I don't know whether you can play completely without someone a bit bigger and a bit more capable of holding the ball up. But we've got options. We've seen it in all the games so far that we've moved things around, especially when you get to that hour mark. So wouldn't be surprised if we start with Taiwo, but we're definitely going to see Morgan Gibbs White at some point. He had a good second half against Everton, changed the game as far as I'm concerned. So it's just a matter of who starts exactly in which position. But I think we'll see at least four of the front three, maybe even 5 of them by the time we're done with Dennis as well.
Just by the way, I'd like just from your perspective, I wouldn't mind seeing a Gibbs White in there, because I think he's going to give more problems to a back line that. So we're missing Romero, which is huge for us. So we're probably going to have Sanchez and Dyer. So I think a guy like Morgan Gibbs White probably gives you a little bit. He'll give him a little more problems than a Taiwo.
Okay, I mean, I just don't want it to be like I pull up Twitter and it's like the Dave Portnoy waving the banner all day long up in City Ground in our eyeballs. I don't want to see that, because I don't think he actually cares. I care. I'd like to get a result out of that. I'd like to not be embarrassed. I mean, talk about a fucking tough week for the Trees. Sunday we got, and then was it Tuesday or Wednesday they have Man City. So back to back. Yeah. So not a great way to end the summer.
4 points. 4 points.
Yeah, love it. And then I hate to say this too, but there's one prop out there from this game that has me salivating a little bit. Harry Kane plus 100. So, having him plus money anytime. Yeah. I feel like you'd be stupid not to take it. He hasn't scored this whole year, correct?
He scored one last weekend.
Well, last week. Okay. So, but it's not like he's been
or the weekend before. Sorry.
The dynamo that we're accustomed to. So I feel like if it's going to be a game with cards, Joe Worrell has not looked like the guy we were accustomed to relying on in the back three in the championship. So I'm a little bit worried about that. I'm worried about Harry Kane getting into those spaces, maybe getting taken down and just finishing a penalty. So I feel like if I've conceded the fact, I hate betting against my own teams, but if I know they're not going to shut out Spurs. I just know that's going to happen. So I feel like Harry Kane to score plus money is you have to do it regardless of what scarf and hat you're wearing during this show. So I think I'll be taking that one as well. So we've kind of covered all the bets that I like. So I want to give you guys something that I put my math hat on and did some research trying to get some data out for this bet so I can have one winner. And I'm looking at the Wolves game against Newcastle. So here's what I like, and I'll explain why in a second.
I'm interested to hear, because I saw the line. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Go for it.
Yeah, it's a halftime draw and Newcastle to win full time. That gets you to plus 525. So a Wolves halftime draw under I always fuck this guy's name up. The manager, Lash. 60% of the time, Wolves have a first half draw. Halftime draws under Eddie Howe for Newcastle. 16 out of his 30 starts. So both Wolves have done basically nothing offensively. I think they scored early in the first week against Leeds, and then they've been shut out back-to-back games. 0-0 against Fulham, and then 1-0 against Tottenham. So I feel like they're not a team that's getting forward with any regularity. They're not scoring. They're not converting. They do have a higher than you would expect XG at home, but I don't think it's going to be enough. So I like a draw in the first half, and I'm starting to just really believe in Newcastle that they got something special cooking up there. I think that they'll have more opportunities late, and I've also read that Wolves are moving away from that back five, that they're going to go to more of a back four, try to be a little bit more offensive. That can bite you against Newcastle, as you know, they're pretty dangerous on the break. So I think Newcastle to get one in the second half, to put them ahead, but I do like them to be the first half to be very boring from both teams, as Newcastle is on the road that they've been playing a boring style. So draw at the half, Newcastle win full time plus 525.
That's an interesting bet. When I looked at the lines, I was like, so Newcastle's plus 165 away to Wolves were plus 180, and that just seems like a trick of some sort, because the way that Newcastle's been playing and putting goals in, it's like Wolves is the immovable object, and Newcastle is the unstoppable force in this situation. I don't know where to go with this one. It was sort of in the teams in the games I was not going to touch. This was the other one.
So I think Wolves are in trouble too, but I think that tactically, like these teams, neither one of them want to get after it right away. At least that's how it's played out historically. Newcastle on the road against Brighton, they didn't do anything the second week of the year. So if they're going to take a tact that is a little bit more reserved and grow into the game, I feel like that first half draw, if you take that on its own, is plus 100. And I feel like both teams like to play that way, especially early. And then Newcastle, the quality late puts them over.
In terms of the two halves, I like your halftime bet more than I like the end. I just don't know how the game's going to go. I'm not sure. We were talking about plant a flag. What are these teams like? What are they actually? What to expect? Wolves is a team that they played well against Tottenham defensively. They showed absolutely nothing going forward. So I do like that halftime bet. I'm just not sure what to do with them after 90.
Dan?
Yeah, similar in the sense that we talk about Newcastle week in, week out being pretty good, but we're still not sure if they're a top six side solidly. And this is one of those going away to kind of a mid-table, lower table team where, a draw at full time wouldn't surprise me at all. I can't see Wolves winning it. And again, that was what surprised me about how close the lines are. But maybe halftime, full-time draws, or draw Newcastle win might be around. But no, I don't think it's a bad choice at all. But it's one of those. I've got a couple of those like Brighton versus Leeds where I'm going to watch it for the entertainment, but I have no idea what you
Brighton
can possibly do.
Brighton are good. I think everybody knows Brighton's good. What do we think about Leeds after 3 games? Because that's another team where it's like if you start to believe in the American experiment going on up there. Brennan Aronson, that goal where he just like dogged, Man City or dogged the goal.
The perfect quintessential Brendan Aronson goal. He chased just a hope and a prayer. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what Mendy was doing with the ball back there, but he just chased it and ran his little balls off and stole it and put it in the net. I mean, that was just the perfect Aronson goal. I'm not sure what to think about Leeds either. There's the persona that I sort of, my character perhaps, where I'm not allowed to even sort of question what's going on with Leeds. But at the same time, I see this line, Brighton minus 117, I think is what I saw at full time. And I can't take that. I'm like legally obligated not to bet on that. But like if I was anybody else in the world, I think I would be loving that.
I'm not on board with the Leeds experiment at all for personal reasons, but also until I see them string a few of them together, I can't get on board with that. More so, I had Mendy in my fantasy team last week as well, so I hate them even more at this point.
All right, so you actually talked me into Brighton because Brighton at home, I feel like I need a little bit more. So if I'm keeping score here, we all like Brentford money line.
I put an asterisk on that.
That's close enough. You're like the king. Like I need you to take it. So, what is your number one bet then, Sam?
My number one bet would be Arsenal Fulham over 3.5.
Okay, Arsenal Fulham 3.5. Dan, you're on money line, so it might be 2 against 1 for Brentford.
I'm Brentford.
Yeah. Okay, then we need one more winner, boys. We need one more winner. I'm gonna make a graphic. We're gonna put it out there on the bet slip, and we're gonna get everybody tailing it, and that's how we're gonna start making money on this show.
Chelsea over Leicester at home.
I love Chelsea over Leicester. I also don't hate your London bet this week either. If you take, if Arsenal's home, Chelsea's home, and Spurs, that gets you to plus 168. I just don't want to do it.
Yeah, can't do that. Legally
Can't do
obligated
that one.
not to. Morally
Okay.
obligated not to.
All right, so prop of the week will be Harry Kane. I'm definitely taking that, and then we'll add Chelsea to the Brentford. And what was it? Arsenal over?
Yeah.
Over 3.5.
Yeah.
Arsenal and Fulham.
Arsenal and Fulham over 3.5. All right,
Yeah.
so we'll put those together. We'll churn out the math. We'll get some winners. We'll be limbs all day on Sunday, and then we just hope and pray for Forest to do something. I just don't want to be. That Newcastle game was so deflating that I don't want. And I think Man City is going to be bad. I don't want to roll into a month where we're looking at hopefully wins against Bournemouth and Fulham in September, but just still being like fucking rattled from getting a shellacking from the 2 of the top 6 teams.
Won't happen. Won't happen.
Won't happen. We're going to be competitive. All right. Well, that's limbs for this week. We'll put the bets out there. We'll put it out on the podcast. So go ahead and download that. We're also, I believe Sam's going to be there, but I'm going to be at Declan's 10:30 to watch. I would love to sit next to you for that game.
You made rue those words, so. My friend.
I think. Well, it's like it's plus 600, but it's like so it's all upside. Everyone, I love an underdog. That's part of why Forrest attracted me to begin with. So I would love to have a moment where you get a little bit nervy up at City, watching a game at City Ground, and start to question things like for real, being like, man, is this team even good? Is this team even good? And I want to see Freuler this week in the midfield too. I've decided that. I think he's got to be in the 11, and it's Freuler and Mangala, and then let's just ride those boys and link up with Morgan Gibbs White and Lingard and Johnson and go from there, and let's play and have some fun. And I think they get maybe. And now I'm talking myself into a result.
Yeah.
So believe in Steve Cooper, and then we'll see what happens.
Molly Whopping incoming.
All right, Molly Whopping. All right. Well, that's it for today. Let's go. Limbs.
Limbs all weekend.